What's up, Ragin Nation? How's it going? This is Alex. You watching the Ragin Nation show. This is just a web series where we're talking about all things matter to me in the world of movies. The first movie that I want to talk about is Planet of the Apes 3. Planet of the Apes 3 is really happening, and we haven't even seen Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, but 20th Century Fox wants to keep this franchise going. They're going to turn it into one of their franchises, and they already have a director attached on board, and that is Matt Reeves, the director of Dawn of the Planet of the Apes, and we don't even know how well Dawn of the Planet of the Apes is going to do, but 20th Century Fox is pretty confident, and they want a sequel to Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. Now, there's no word on what it's going to be about, but obviously it's going to be about what happens after the Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. But the thing is that what gets me really interested or really confused is that they're calling it Planet of the Apes 3. Now, what does that mean for the original Planet of the Apes? And what does that mean for the story? Where are they going with this? And how many more sequels will there be before it gets to the Charlton Heston classic? Or are they going to remove the Charlton Heston classic and completely consider this new franchise a reboot of the whole thing? Who knows? I don't know, but I'm very curious. I just want to watch Dawn of the Planet of the Apes with Jason Clarke, alright? For the time being, I don't really care about Planet of the Apes 3. I'm happy that they're keeping the franchise going because I think it's a very cool concept. But for the time being, I'm going to wait for Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. But I just wanted to let you know that Planet of the Apes 3 is happening. Moving on, we got some comic book movie news, and I gotta show you guys these new international posters for Spider-Man, or rather the Amazing Spider-Man 2. And there's a very common theme in all three of these posters, and that is Electro. Now, originally, Electro has always been announced as the villain of the Amazing Spider-Man 2, but then they started announcing other characters, for example, Rhino and Green Goblin. So who really is the main villain? Now, we know that this movie is meant to introduce the Sinister Six for later on, but according to these international posters, it looks like Electro could be the main villain. I mean, you have to have a main villain. It's played by a big star like Jamie Foxx. I'm pretty sure that Electro is the main villain. Alright? Pretty cool posters, wouldn't you say? Anyways, moving on, let's talk about X-Men Days of Future Past. And they added another character to X-Men Days of Future Past, and that would be a younger version of Toad. The original Toad in X-Men was played by Darth Maul himself, Ray Park, but they're getting a younger version of Toad because, well, this is Days of Future Past. They're going back in time, back and forth, and the new Toad will be played by Evan Jonigkeit. I've never heard of him or seen any of his work before, but it's going to be a younger version of the Ray Park Toad. Now, I hope that we see more of Toad. I wanted to see more of Toad in the original X-Men. I hope we get to see more of young Toad. So there's going to be a lot of characters in this movie, and with more characters, you got less screen time for supporting characters. So who knows what they're going to do with that, but Toad is in it. All right? Now, moving on, we got to talk about XMen Apocalypse, and you guys already know that Bryan Singer tweeted about XMen Apocalypse coming in 2016, but what is XMen Apocalypse really about? Now, it obviously hints at the fact that the fact that the character of Apocalypse is going to be in XMen Apocalypse, just because of the subtitle for the movie. But one thing you got to know is that Bryan Singer mentioned that X-Men Apocalypse talks about the origins of mutants. Not so much the origins of X-Men, but the origins of mutants. And, you know, the concept of mutants. How they became mutants. Alright? From talking about the very beginning of everything. So, that's going to be very interesting. I'm actually very curious to know, you know, not just the origins of characters, like X-Men Origins Wolverine or First Class. You know, I'm not just interested in that, but I want to know, how did mutants all begin? You know, how did all of this start out? All right, and well, Bryan Singer, he's going to be responsible for that because he's going to be writing it, he's going to be producing it, but so far we're not sure if he's going to be directing it. Now, this all depends on the schedule, but he wants to direct it. He has a desire to direct it because it seems like it's his baby. He's writing and producing it. Well, he would like to also direct it, but all depends on his schedule. All right? So that's what's happening with X-Men Days of Future Past and XMen Apocalypse. Finally, let's talk about another big comic book property, and that would be Batman vs. Superman, or Superman vs. Batman. I don't even really know what it's called at the moment, but at the end of the day, it is Man of Steel 2, the sequel to the original Man of Steel, which they're calling Batman vs. Superman. Now, as you already know, they're adding on Batman to the movie. They're adding on Wonder Woman, possible Nightwing, Lex Luthor. There's going to be a lot of characters in Man of Steel 2. I mean, Batman vs. Superman. But at the end of all this, it is ultimately a Superman movie. It was originally supposed to be called Man of Steel 2. But the whole adding of Batman, that's of course to generate publicity. And also, you know, it's supposed to open up the DC universe, the cinematic DC universe, for Justice League, a Justice League movie that's possibly coming in 2017 or 2018. All right, but one thing that I want to talk to you about with regards to the cinematic DC universe and Batman vs. Superman is the origins of Wonder Woman. Now, this is just a rumor. This is just a rumor about the origins of Wonder Woman. Apparently, if this rumor is true, they're changing things up. The origins of Wonder Woman, according to this rumor, could possibly be that Wonder Woman is not really an Amazonian, not really an Amazon. In fact, she is an ancient, or rather her race is an ancient descendants of Krypton, or rather Kryptonians, ancient Kryptonians who have been living on Earth for a very long time. Therefore, Wonder Woman's powers will be dumbed down compared to Superman. They'll be toned down. Okay, she as an ancient Kryptonian, or rather a Kryptonian, won't have the same amount of powers that Superman has, just because maybe they've been adapting to living on Earth. Now, this changes things up significantly because Wonder Woman's origins is supposed to be that of myth and fantasy. All right, but you know, it's the fantasy realm, but this whole ordeal, this whole new direction of them taking the origins of Wonder Woman from being as being ancient Kryptonians, that takes it into the sci-fi realm as opposed to the fantasy realm, and it really changes the whole Wonder Woman lore. Now, why are they doing this? Are they doing this out of convenience? I kind of think so. But how do the fans feel about this? How do the Wonder Woman fans feel about this? How they're changing it up? That will leave a bit of a mark and a bit of a middle finger to the fans, you know, because if you change things up, you got to respect the fans and do it politically. I mean, do it diplomatically, rather. But this is a big change. We're talking about changing up the entire origins of Wonder Woman. Now, will this be a big deal in terms of how it affects the character? We don't know, but we still want to know that things are still the same. But, oh well, what can we do? So far, this is just a rumor. I'm not going to jump to conclusions, but I don't like the idea of changing things up because the idea of Wonder Woman being an Amazon, an Amazonian, is very unique. It's very interesting. I want to know how they bring these characters into into Earth. All right, Superman came from space. With regards to Avengers, Thor came from Asgard, in a completely different realm. Iron Man created his persona, just like Batman. He created himself. He was the result of what he did for himself. He created himself. Wonder Woman, on the other hand, she's from a realm of fantasy, so I want to see them come from their original origins, but they might change things up. It's just a rumor, okay? That's all I gotta say in this video. How do you guys feel about the changes? Just a rumor, once again. And how do you feel about anything that I've talked about? For example, Planet of the Apes 3 and where they're going with it. Let me know in the comment section below. As always, if you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, subscribe to the YouTube channel, like me on Facebook to Ragin Nation, also follow me on Twitter at Ragin Nation. My name is Oxy. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time. Peace. Was changed many times, And so there was no way to wing it. There was no backup plan, and because of that, the best thing to do was just to walk